Welcome to another episode of Aprons Are for Cowards. I'm here today with a very special guest. My dear friend Victoria is here from all the way across the pond. What are we making today?
Today we are making a French treat called a Madeleine.
Madeleine. You know, we're lucky to catch Victoria at a moment when she's not having high tea in London, or discussing the future of the Notre Dame in Paris, or doing hands-on archaeology in Israel, you know, as you do. So, have you made these before?
I actually did, but as a child, so it's quite a long time ago.
So, you hear that we have a Parisian representative who knows exactly what madeleines are supposed to taste like, who also made them as a child. I feel like we're in very good hands. So is there anything special about the recipe we're using today?
Yes, today we are making a rose, raspberry and pistachio Madeleine, which is a bit of an Iranian twist to a French classic.
Sounds tasty to me. So if I were wandering the streets of Paris and I had a hankering for a French treat, where would I be likely to encounter one? A Madeleine.
You could find them in every French bakery. It's something that children would have after school, or that people have with their coffee at a nice cafe.
That's lovely. You know, in the Pacific Northwest, we're lucky if we can find a plastic-wrapped 2-day-old Madeleine. Unless you go to a specialty European bakery, then it's a different story.
Well, we're here today to prove that you can actually make them yourself at home.
Amazing. Let's get started.
These madeleines turn out tasting phenomenal. However, I learned from Victoria that Parisians insist madeleines must have a specific feature that we failed to produce on the first try. Stay tuned and we'll explain. The first step is to melt the butter. You can do it in a microwave or, as we did, in a heavy saucepan on low to medium heat, stirring occasionally. This recipe calls for finely chopped pistachios, so the easiest thing to do is buy shelled pistachios and then finely chop them in a food processor. But we process them the old-fashioned way with a knife. Well, wait. Is Victoria doing all the work? Anyway, crack 3 eggs into a bowl. Add the sugar to the eggs. We used brown sugar for a touch more moistness and a hint of molasses, but you can use white instead. Beat the sugar into the eggs until they become light and fluffy. Again, we're doing things the hard way by using a whisk, but if you have a handheld electric mixer, give it 2 to 4 minutes at high speed. In a separate bowl, combine the flour, baking soda, and salt. Once that's mixed, you can put it aside. The next step is to mix the runny honey into the melted butter, which, because it's been sitting, should have cooled by now.
So then we're going to add the rose water, which is a nice Iranian taste. As you may know, like in Iranian cooking, rose water and the pistachios are very important. Bye, rose water!
How is it that every time I cook with Victoria, she has magical ingredients like this on hand? Mix, 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 and then it's time to stir the heavenly honey butter rosewater liquid right into the egg sugar mixture. After that, we add in the chopped pistachios with the rest of the wet ingredients and mix well.
Teamwork makes great work.
To complete the batter, add half of the flour and stir it well. And finally, you can mix in the last of the flour. The batter is supposed to chill for 2 hours or overnight. Ready to bake these madeleines? Switch your oven on to 375 degrees Fahrenheit. Brush your madeleine mold with melted butter. In our first batch of madeleines, we added 1 heaping tablespoon of batter into each mold, which we're going to revise in just a second when we tell you how this batch turned out. To each madeleine, we added a whole raspberry into its center. We used a timer when we baked them because they bake for 5 minutes at 375 degrees Fahrenheit and then 6 more minutes at 320 degrees Fahrenheit for a total of 11 minutes, or until they're golden around the edges. Once they're done, place them on a rack to cool. Now, we're going to share with you how this batch turned out.
Well, mesdames et messieurs, I apologize for this.
It seems we got a little overzealous with the amount of batter that we were placing in the Madeleine pan. So we did a heaping tablespoon rather than a flattened tablespoon, and it kind of overflowed the mold as it was baking a little bit. As well, they seem to be sort of flat on top, and I'm learning from Victoria that actually that little bump on one side of the Madeleine that rises while it's baking is crucial for a perfect Madeleine. So what's the significance of that bump?
Well, there are many stories. Obviously, the little cake is for a Madeleine, and that's the name of Mary Magdalene. So one of the stories that we have it might be related to her and said that it's actually a pregnancy bomb. You know,
Oh
it's the
my
bomb of the
goodness.
Madeleine. But
Wow.
as a theologian, I cannot vouch for it. But it's a very cute story, I think.
So there's a nickname for that little pregnancy bump. What do you call it?
What's the Madeleine bomb?
The Madeleine bum. Okay, so we're looking for a good bum on the Madeleine.
It's actually crucial, like the quality of the Madeleine will be according to how big the bomb is.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so how are we going to achieve that in our next batch?
Well, last time what we did is pull a full raspberry in every Madeleine, and that probably prevented it from rising. Of course, it tasted great, it was perfectly fine, but it was not as pretty as it could be. So what we are going to do this time is put half a raspberry to take off some weight out of the top, and we're also going to try it without a raspberry to see if we can obtain that Madeleine bomb.
Optimal Madeleine bum. Okay, wish us luck.
So to recap, on this next batch, we changed the heaping tablespoon to a level tablespoon of batter, we put only half a raspberry lightly on top of the batter, and we left a couple of Madeleines without raspberries whatsoever.
They do have a bomb!
Oh, they're perfect. Now, is that the right placement for the Madeleine bum?
Well, I'd say the bummier the better.
The bummier the better.
Yeah, listen to that, ladies. This is the Madeleine bomb, as you can see. It's like beautiful and just like a little shape.
So the first batch we made her like the first trimester, and now she's progressed.
It was a way better choice to put half a raspberry. It really improves the shape.
So here we have the final batch of Madeleines. Do you want to try one, Victoria?
Oh yes, I'd love to try one. Thank you, Sam.
She's choosing the bummiest one.
Of course, I'm choosing the bummiest one. Well, you can see it has that really nice bum, and let's see, it's perfectly cooked on the inside, nice and moist. It's delicious.
Nice. The pistachio really comes through, like there's a nice bite to it. And that rose flavor just kind of seeps in there. And then the raspberry is kind of like some jam that's baked right in there. And it's really nice. So what do you think? Do you recommend it?
100%.
100%!
Buy a Parisian!
There you have it. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button and subscribe for more. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye!
Au revoir! Maybe we'll kill one. That's okay. Hi, I'm Victoria, and today I am baking without an apron because aprons are for cowards.